Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.
On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there is having a wonderful time. Of course, we're doing the Law of One series, and it's such a very, very fun series. I hope you guys are enjoying it even a quarter as much as I am, because I am definitely enjoying the heck out of this. Today, we've got two that, I don't know, this show's probably going to go a little faster than some of them. They're sort of restarting their thinking process. Their book 2 is what they're calling it, and they're kind of coming at it from some definitions standpoint. And so there's a few things in the first one. 27 is the session we're on, at least doing first. They talk about intelligent infinity, which it's kind of interesting how Ra tries to explain that. We'll talk more about it, of course. And then the concept of love, or the love as a what do they call it? A catalyst, if you will. But it is part of our evolution here. Love is an important aspect of getting out of just self and knowing myself and knowing I'm separate from others. But then when you get to the point of being able to treat others as co-creators, or treating others as other sources, like the source just in a different form. Love is a powerful uniter. Love is a very powerful bridge, wonderful catalyst, I think was the word I was trying to say if I didn't already. So we're going to get into that. We're going to cover this one first. Again, this was all done back in 1981. Very solid channeling, I feel. There's a few good sources of channeling and channeled information, I believe. I would put this definitely in that. I would put like Jane Roberts with Seth Speaks and some of those things definitely within that. Likely I would probably even add those slightly different Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. I believe a lot of that was essentially channeling. He did it through writing on a yellow legal pad, was asking a question to God, and then was done. Like, he was just venting, he was pissed off that there's so much evil in the world and things sucked in the world. And he's like, all right, normally he would, if he had a problem with his neighbor, he'd write a little yellow note to his neighbor, never give it to him, but he'd write it, he'd feel better, he'd get it off his chest, and then ultimately throw it away. Well, this time he was like, well, I'm going to go to the source. I'm going to tell God, this is what I think, this is what I'm upset about. So he wrote out this big long thing, and then he went to put the pen down, and then he felt obligated to pick it back up, and he wrote, are you just venting, or do you really want to, ask that question? And so began the conversation with God. And that is a form of channeling. Auto-writing, they would say. Auto-speaking is another way. Some people can just pull it through from a mind standpoint. Channeling something fun. We'll probably talk more about it later down the road. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but at the same time, it's something I do frequently. I just, I don't think about it when I do it. And that's one of the keys, but it also makes it sort of hard to teach people how to do something that you don't think about, that you just do when the time's right. And I can't make myself do it, and I can't make myself, well, I can make myself stop just by thinking about what I'm doing, but it's something I can't make myself do. It happens. I know how to put myself into a place where it will happen, and I know how to basically make it happen from that standpoint. But outside of that, it's a little tricky. Anyway, we'll get more into things as I think we'll evolve this spiritual channel or this spiritual show. But we do have a lot of Law of One stuff to get through first. I think there's 108 sessions or something to that effect, and we're only on 27 and 28. So a lot to go. We're going to kick this one off. This is Law of One, session 27, recorded in 1981. Please enjoy. The Law of One, Session 27, recorded February 21st, 1981. Ra, I am Ra. I greet you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. I communicate now. Questioner, this session I thought we would start Book 2 of the Law of One, which will focus on what we consider to be the only important aspect of our being. However, Jim has felt the obligation to ask 2 questions that were asked of him by Paul Shockley, and I will ask those 2 first, in case you are able to answer them before we really get started. First question is, Paul Shockley is presenting channeling. Correction. Paul Shockley is presenting channeling to the same source which Edgar Cayce channeled, and Paul has received information that he took part in the design and construction of the Egyptian pyramids. Can you tell us what his role was in that effort? Ra, I am Ra. This was in your space-time continuum, 2 periods and 2 lifetimes. The first of a physical nature, working with Confederation entities in what you know of as Atlantis. This approximately 13,000 of your years ago. This memory, shall we say, being integrated into the unconscious of the mind-body-spirit complex of this entity due to its extreme desire to remember the service of healing and polarization possible by the mechanism of the crystal and the charged healer. The second experience being approximately 1,000 of your years later, during which experience this entity prepared, in some part, the consciousness of the people of what you now call Egypt, that they were able to offer the calling that enabled those of our social memory complex to walk among your peoples. During this life experience, this entity was of a priest and teaching nature, and succeeded in remembering a semi-distorted form the learned teaching of the Atlantean pyramidal experiences. Thus, this entity became a builder of the archetypal thought of the Law of One, with distortion towards healing, which aided our peoples in bringing this through into physical manifestation as what you would call a later period in your time measurement. Questioner, the second question is, Paul has also received information that mentions that there were other beings aiding in the construction of the pyramids who were not fully materialized in the 3rd density. They were materialized from the waist up to their heads, but not materialized from the waist down to their feet. Did such entities exist in the construction of the pyramids, and who were they? Ra, I am Ra. Consider, if you will, the intelligent infinity present in the absorption of livingness and beingness as it becomes codified into intelligent energy. Due to the thought impressions of those assisting in the living stone into a new shape of beingness. The release and use of intelligent infinity for a brief period begins to absorb all the consecutive or interlocking dimensions, thus offering brief glimpses of those projecting to the material their thought. These beings thus beginning to materialize but not remaining visible. These beings were the thought form or 3rd density visible manifestations of our social memory complex as we offered contact from our intelligent infinity to the intelligent infinity of the stone. Questioner, thank you very much. I will now proceed with the process of starting the 2nd book of the Law of One. This, I will assume, will be a much more difficult task than the 1st book because we want to focus on things that are not transient, and as a questioner, I may have difficulty at times. When I do have this difficulty, I may fall back on some partially transient questions simply because I will not be able to formulate what I really need to formulate, and I apologize for this, but I will try my best to stay on the track and eliminate things of no value from the book if they do occur during my questioning. The statement I will make to begin with I have written. It is, most entities in this density focus their minds on some transient condition or activity, with little regard to its value as a tool or an aid to their growth and understanding of the true or undistorted essence of the creation of which they are an integral part. We will attempt, by starting at the beginning of creation, to establish an overview of ourselves in this creation, thereby arriving at a more informed point of inspection of what we consider to be reality. It is hoped that this process will allow us to participate more effectively in the process of evolution. I would like to start with definitions of words that we have been using that possibly we have not and possibly cannot totally understand. But since the first words that we use are intelligent infinity, I would like for you to define each of these words and give me the definitions of their combination. Ra. I am Ra. Your vibrations of mind complex indicate a query. However, your vibrational sound complex indicate a preference. Please restate. Questioner. Would you define the word intelligent in the concept of intelligent infinity? Ra. I am Ra. We shall address the entire spectrum of this question before defining as requested. Your language, using vibrational sound complexes, can be at best an approximation of that which is closer to an understanding, if you will, of the nature of conscious thought. Perceptions are not the same as sound vibration complexes, and the attempt to define will therefore be a frustrating one for you, although we are happy to aid you within the limits of your sound vibration complexes. To define intelligent, apart from infinity, is difficult, for these two vibration complexes equal one concept. It is much like attempting to divide your sound vibration concept faith into two parts. We shall attempt to aid you, however. Questioner. It is not necessary to divide it. The definition of intelligent infinity as one part is sufficient. Could you please then define intelligent infinity? Ra. I am Ra. This is exponentially simpler and less confusing. There is unity. This unity is all that there is. This unity has a potential and a kinetic. The potential is intelligent infinity. Tapping this potential will yield work. This work has been called by us intelligent energy. The nature of this work is dependent upon the particular distortions of free will, which in turn is the nature of a particular intelligent energy or kinetic focus of the potential of unity, or that which is all. Questioner. I'd like to expand a little on the concept of work. In Newtonian physics, the concept of work is what we call a force which moves through space. It's the product of force and distance as we measure it. I'm assuming that the work of which you speak is a much broader term, including possibly work in consciousness. Am I correct? Ra. I am Ra. As we use this term, it is universal in application. Intelligent infinity has a rhythm or flow as of a giant heart beginning with the central sun, as you would think or conceive of this. The presence of the flow inevitable as a tide of beingness without polarity, without finity. The vast and silent all beating outward, focusing outward and inward until the focuses are complete. The intelligence or consciousness of foci have reached a state where their, shall we say, spiritual nature or mass calls them inward, inward, inward until all is coalesced. This is the rhythm of reality as you spoke. Questioner. Now I think I have extracted an important point from this, in that in intelligent infinity we have work without polarity, or a potential difference does not have to exist. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. There is no difference, potential or kinetic, in unity. The basic rhythms of intelligent infinity are totally without distortion of any kind. The rhythms are clothed in mystery, for they are being itself. From this undistorted unity, however, appears a potential in relation to intelligent energy. In this way, you may observe the term to be somewhat two-sided, one use of the term that being as the undistorted unity, being without any kinetic or potential side. The other application of this term, which we use undifferentiatedly for lack of other terms in the sense of the vast potential tapped into by foci or focuses of energy, we call intelligent energy. Questioner. Now I understand that the first distortion of intelligent infinity is the distortion of what we call free will. Can you give me a definition of this distortion? Ra. I am Ra. In this distortion of the law of one, it is recognized that the Creator will know itself. Questioner. Then am I correct, then, in assuming that the Creator will know itself the Creator, then grants for this knowing the concept of freedom, total freedom of choice in the ways of knowing? Am I correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is quite correct. Questioner. This then being the first distortion of the law of one, which I am assuming is the law of intelligent infinity from all other all other distortions which are the total experience of the creation spring from this. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is both correct and incorrect. In your illusion, all experience springs from the law of free will or the way of confusion. In another sense, which we are learning, the experiences are the distortion. Questioner. I will have to think about that and ask questions on it in the next session, so I will go on to what you have given me as the second distortion, which is the distortion of love. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. I would like for you to define love in this sense, in its sense as the second distortion. Ra. I am Ra. This must be defined against the background of intelligent infinity, or unity, or the one creator with the primal distortion of free will. The term love then may be seen as the focus, the choice of attack, the type of energy of an extremely, shall we say, high order, which causes intelligent energy to be formed from the potential of intelligent infinity, in just such and such a way. This then may be seen to be an object rather than an activity by some of your peoples, and the principle of this extremely strong energy focus being worshipped as the creator instead of unity or oneness from which all love emanates. Questioner. Is there a manifestation of love that we could call vibration? Ra. I am Ra. Again, we reach semantic difficulties. The vibration or density of love or understanding is not a term used in the same sense as the second distortion, love. The distortion, love, being the great activator and primal co-creator of various creations using intelligent infinity. The vibration, love, being that density in which those who have learned to do an activity called loving without significant distortion then seek the ways of light or wisdom. Thus, in vibratory sense, love comes into light in the sense of the activity of unity in its free will. Love uses light and has the power to direct light in its distortions. Thus, vibratory complexes recapitulate in reverse the creation in its unity, thus showing the rhythm or flow of the great heartbeat, if you will, to use this analogy. Questioner. I will make a statement that I have extracted from the physics of Dewey Larson, which may or may not be close to what we are trying to explain. Larson says that all is motion which we can take as vibration, and that vibration, which is pure vibration and is not physical in any way or in any form or any density, that vibration by the first product of the vibration is that we call the photon, particle of light. I was trying to make an analogy between this physical solution and the concept of love and light. Is this close to the concept of love creating light or not? Ra. I am Ra. You are correct. Questioner. Then I will expand a bit more on this concept. We have the finite vibration of love which can occur, I am assuming at varying frequencies. If this has a meaning in this, I would assume that it begins at one basic frequency. Does this have any meaning? Am I making sense? Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. Each love, as you term the prime movers, comes from one frequency, if you wish to use that term. This frequency is unity. We would perhaps liken it to strength than a frequency. This strength being infinite, the finite qualities being chosen by the particular nature of this primal movement. Questioner. Then this vibration, which is, for lack of a better understanding, which we would call pure motion, it is pure love. It is not. There is nothing that is yet condensed, shall we say, to form any type or density of illusion. This love then creates by this process of vibration a photon, as we call it, which is the basic particle of light. This photon then, by added vibrations and rotations, further condenses into particles of the densities, the various densities that we experience. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Now this. Then light which forms the densities has what we call color, and this color is divided into 7 categories of color. Can you tell me, is there a reason or an explanation for these categories of color? Can you tell me something about that? Ra. I am Ra. This will be the last complete question of this session, as this instrument is low on vital energy. We will answer briefly, and then you may question further in consequent sessions. The nature of the vibratory patterns of your universe is dependent upon the configurations placed upon the original material or light by the focus or love using its intelligent energy to create a certain pattern of illusions or densities in order to satisfy its own intelligent estimate of a method of knowing itself. Thus, the colors, as you call them, are as straight or narrow or necessary as is possible to express, given the will of love. There is further information which we shall be happy to share by answering your questions. However, we do not wish to deplete this instrument. Is there a short query necessary before we leave? Questioner, the only thing I need to know is there anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or help her or the contact? Ra, I am Ra. This instrument is slightly uncomfortable. Perhaps a simpler configuration of the body would be appropriate given the instrument's improving physical complex condition. I am Ra. You are conscientious in your endeavors. We shall be with you. We leave you now in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Rejoice, therefore, in the power and the peace of the one infinite Creator, Adonai. Again, kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say crazy, but getting into some of the weirdness that's out there. We've got a couple questions, and we'll get to those in just a second. The parts that I kind of wanted to cover, projecting thought forms to make the pyramids. It's the same thing as manifesting. If done from a higher density, from a higher vibrational standpoint, even from a higher dimension, if you will, the thought form itself is significantly, it shows in reality much quicker than necessarily when we manifest, but it's the same concept. It is the focusing of intelligent infinity, okay, which is essentially, in my opinion, kind of like the ether or the force. It's what's all around us. And when you're able to take that and focus it down into density, now you're talking about intelligent, where's the other one? Intelligent energy? Well, I'll find it again, but the other, not the intelligent infinity, but the other side of that. It is the focusing of the intelligent infinity down into the physical that kind of creates that. And then, so they talked about perception too, and how the thought sound complexes, or words essentially, are harder to convey understanding. So when you, like, say, channel, when you reach up and pull down information, you're going to get symbols, you're going to get thoughts, but you're going to get symbols and stuff along those lines. It's why dreams are so strange, right? Because when you try to translate higher dimension, higher density into third dimension, we have all sorts of issues. So a lot of the times what we do is we'll summarize it down into symbols or things along those lines. So when it comes to words, it's very hard to put those experiences into words. Words are even more strict and structured than even symbols and symbology can be, right? You can have one symbol and then spend an entire book writing all the words to explain what that one symbol is. So that's one of the things I kind of talk about is perception. What you feel, what you experience from that level is significantly larger and less dense, if you will, than trying to bring it even further down into words. And sometimes even physical is even more dense from that standpoint. So again, it's kind of the way these things move. So intelligent infinity, like I said, equals like ether or force. They do talk about how creator is going to know itself, though they may not know they are creating. I added that, but creator knows itself. We all understand that we are individuals, that there is separation between us and others. This is a big part of what being the creator is, though many of us don't realize that we are actually the creator of a lot of what we experience. In fact, in most cases, all of what we experience, or most of what we experience. We are the creator of that. And so that's a big part of why I find this information to be so useful and important, because it helps us kind of take hold or take control or take ownership of our experience, of our thoughts, of how we treat others. It helps us kind of own that. And so it's one thing to know I'm separate and I'm creator, or I'm a creator just like anybody else, or I'm a soul, I was made in God's image and creation, or image and likeness. Sure, all those things are true. But then the next step is, do I realize as creator that I am creating? And many of us don't. Many of us don't. So intelligent energy is essentially the same thing as focused intelligent infinity. So that was the intelligent energy was the thing I was failing to remember. So intelligent infinity is like the ether, is everything. It's above, it's light, it's everything, it's all that. And then when we start to condense it down into light, for example, we start to get it more into the intelligent energy. And as we focus that down even further, that's where it really starts to come into physical. So intelligent energy, intelligent infinity, is all around us, is everywhere. It's all prevailing, it's everywhere. Intelligent energy is the focusing of that. And it can happen in a number of ways, but typically within our own lives, manifestation is really how we experience it. It's used by higher beings and dimensions as well. It can also be used to show other people things. You can't control or force somebody to do or behave a certain way, but you can show them things. They may not realize it. Law of confusion will allow them to not believe it. But you can definitely do that. So there's a lot of power into controlling what we think about and how we feel about things and all these stuff. And again, any of you guys are interested in manifestation, just go to Dan RadioStyle on YouTube. I've done over 1,000 videos. I've covered manifestation very heavily. Love creates light, matter, and experience. Love is really kind of how intelligent infinity is sort of, I don't want to say controlled because that's not how it's done, but intelligent infinity is then shaped or borrowed and utilized through the concept of love. It's really love that's kind of the doer. It's the, like they were saying, the strength. It is the powerful component. It's part of what gets us into the fourth density. It's just, and again, we'll get more into it. It's a big part of why teach learning this is not necessarily easy, because there's so many components. It's so hard to break it into the proper words. Again, Law of One does a really good job. And they do start to get into colors. And colors are, and this ties into one of the questions, colors are kind of a way of taking, like white light's white light, right? Like, and really, that doesn't even represent the ultraviolet or infrared. I mean, there's a whole slew of colors that we can't see, or frequencies of light that are not visible to our eyes. The little bit of the light spectrum that is visible to us is something like 3% or some tiny amount. It's a teeny amount of what, it's actually probably way less than that, considering you can go infinite in both directions. The little bit that we do see is it's the catalyst we use here. It's the way we can disseminate between certain things. It's part of how we can ascribe meaning. It helps define. It's part of the process of creation. And so it's depth, beauty. I mean, if you walk in the forest, colors are an amazing thing. It's one of those components that I think kind of helps build the intelligent energy around us and give it more meaning. All right, I got 2 questions that I'm aware of thus far. What are your thoughts about the new color discovery, Olo? Does it fit into the Law of One? This is Sheila that's asking this. First off, I'm gonna say, when I first saw the story about Olo, I'm just like, this is stupid. And not the question, just the fact that we feel like we've invented a color. I find that to be kind of absurd. Colors are just frequency exchange, and if they've somehow stepped outside of the standard frequencies and invented a color because of it, I guess, but it already exists. Obviously it does, because they managed to make it. I think it's more an issue if they created it computer-wise, which makes it kind of stranger. And again, from a lot of standpoints, one of the things that's difficult, I think, with many of us is we are in a system, we're in a world, we're in a reality that is like, there's no real rules. Most of us live by rules. Most of us try to make rules for what we experience. Most of us try to understand things through rules and laws and all this. But the reality is there really is nothing like that. We limit ourselves through a lot of this. And so when many of us try to use the laws that we experience and use mathematics, which is like, okay, let me see if I can step back from this a second. We use things that we've created within this system to describe this system, to measure this system. We try to use those things to describe things that are beyond this system. We take things that don't make sense, and we try to make sense of them. And the only way we can make sense of things is through our own experiences, through what we know, through what we can touch, through what's tangible, through what we've tasted. And so we use those metrics to define the undefinable, rather than accepting that sometimes things are magnificent, sometimes things There aren't words to describe what it is. It is what it is. It's an experience. It's a flavor. It's a color. It's a weirdness. We try so hard to define these things, and by doing so, kind of lose part of what it was, part of the brilliance of what it was. So do I think Olo fits into the law of one? Sure. It's a catalyst like anything else. It's a color like any other color. Do I find it unique in any way? Do I feel like it's some sort of movement in a bigger direction? No, absolutely not. It's just, I think they figured out a way mathematically to create another color that quote unquote doesn't exist, which again, I still have a hard time with that concept, but interesting question. Pet asked, question, so how were the stones moved? Was it because they were the stone? I believe they talk about this more later in the Law of One when it comes to the movement of the pyramids. Best I understand is it's not so much them assuming the consciousness of the stone. It kind of makes me think of the Neo with the bending of the spoon, right? The spoon doesn't bend. It bends because I ask it to. It bends because I am the spoon and the spoon is me, right? Like it's not so much that, to my understanding, as much as sound. And one of the things we're really starting to learn now about sound, one, there's a lot of healing components to sound. Two, you literally can use harmonics and sound to levitate devices. That's been done already. Scientifically, we've seen it. So sound is a very powerful thing. It can be used to cut. It can be used to move. It can be used to lift. There's different frequencies of sound, much like there's different frequencies of color. So really, to my understanding, they used sound to levitate these pyramids into place and set them perfectly into place. That's also one of the things that's unique about the Great Pyramid of Giza, is the perfection of how they were built, the way the stones literally go together to where you couldn't even fit a piece of paper between them, the fact that they're oriented north, south, east, west almost perfectly. I believe it's 3 arc minutes of a degree. It's off. And when you talk about the Griffith Observatory, which is a man-made object that we tried to make perfect north, south, east, west, and it's some like 7 to 12 arc minutes off from perfection. So the Great Pyramid of Giza is something that we still to this day would not be able to create. We could not. The size of the stones and the weight of the stones, I don't even know if some of the cranes we've got could lift stuff to that weight, let alone being able to place it up as high as they were. And from what we're maybe learning now, how deep down they potentially could have gone. So that's an interesting question too. September asked a question. I hugged a coworker and she said her anxiety was instantly gone. I feel like I used some aspect of the Law of One. How can I do this more? This is your energy. You've got an energy about you. And there's no trying to use the Law of One to do this. That's you with your energy, you raising your vibrations, you getting to a point where your calmness is actually infectious to others. So what that was for you, one, was a catalyst for you and her, by the way, or whatever, him, her, whatever. And it was you kind of experience this strange experience with another human telling you something, giving you confirmation, and you going, oh, I did that. How strange. What does that mean? Law of confusion, you don't necessarily know. You could write it off and give up on it, or you can actually start to dig into it and realize a lot of that has to do with energetics. It has to do with your energy, has to do with you being a healer, has to do with a lot of things along those lines. And really, that's what some of the confirmation should have been for you. As far as your friend, much the same. They probably really, I don't know what it is about so-and-so, but I just feel so calm around them. One thing I will caution and be careful is you do not want to get in the habit of being the fix for others. Because now you're co-creating in a sort of non-harmonious way. Anybody else can do all of this stuff. There's nothing special that any one of us has that others don't have. Nobody has a unique set of skills that nobody else can do. Okay, that's ego. That's when you start getting off into the wrong path and the wrong line of thinking. When you start to separate yourself from others and what you're capable of doing, it's not healthy, it's not good, and it's not correct. Your friend has this experience and is going to have their own understanding of what that means. Maybe they'll come back and ask you questions, which would be wonderful. Maybe it's just something they forget about. Maybe it's like every time they're anxious, they're going to kind of try to come and get a hug from you. Again, you don't necessarily want to be their answer. That is definitely not the proper way to handle it, though very common on this planet. A lot of people have a messiah complex, or we have this concept of creating messiahs. It's why I oftentimes don't talk about the skills I have, because frankly, I don't want anyone to think of me any differently. I'm no different. I've just practiced and done a lot of stuff that any one of you guys could do. I've just actually bothered to do it and learned. It doesn't make it better, doesn't make it worse. It's just, I've learned it. I've read books that most people don't want to read. I've looked into things that a lot of people don't want to look into. It's been an awesome road, and I've learned a lot of things about myself. I mean, much like your experience with hugging someone, you can do it too when you walk into a room. There's some people that walk into rooms and people will literally turn around and notice you before anything else happens. You have a presence about you. You have an energy about you. That energy is with you wherever you go. And when we enhance our density, when we enhance our understanding, when we enhance our experience, that energy becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's why I so frequently talk about being the teacher of teachers. And as I can help more of you reach higher levels of energy, your abilities just energetically significantly go up. And again, not that you're better or worse. It's that you're more conscious of what you are and who you are, and you're more conscious of the creator aspect and the fact that there are fellow creators walking amongst us. So hopefully that gives a little bit of help there. I don't know. We'll see. Got one more of these to cover through. We got session 28. And I think this one's pretty good too. This one kind of gets into this guy Dewey Larson and his physics. I just kind of want to bring this up real fast. Dewey Larson's something that I've actually read a bunch on. That doesn't make it good, bad, or anything. There's a guy that named Daniel, the Daniel Papers or whatever. He's also done a lot of stuff with this, but it's called the reciprocal system of theory. This was done back in the 40s and 50s. This dude was brilliant. I'm not saying everything he says is 100% accurate, though. I like his view of how the solar system forms a lot more than what our current science says. I think there's a lot of truths into a lot of what this gentleman's talking about. And again, it's up to you if you guys ever want to kind of get into it. It is the Dewey Larson. A lot of good information out there on him. And frankly, I think he's a pretty fascinating guy, and was like Nikola Tesla, was way ahead of his own self. And again, we're trying to describe stuff that doesn't really have a good description. We're trying to describe stuff that's kind of fuzzy logic, fuzzy stuff. And we're trying to really make it less fuzzy, right? But it's still fuzzy. That's just what it is. And it is human nature to overly simplify everything. Everything. It's probably my only beef with religion. Is religion takes something that is amazing, it's huge, it's magnificent, it will constantly evolve with you as you evolve. When religion, I feel, overly simplifies it, hugely so, and in fact, in most cases, removes your power, wants you to place that power in somewhere outside of yourself. That's never correct, ever. The power is inside you. That is the only place the power exists, inside you. Nobody has power over you unless you give it to them. Nobody. You can give any example you want. You have power over you. And when you own that power and live your life accordingly, nothing else affects you. Even government, even the crap I talk about on my news channel every day. It doesn't matter. I am in charge of my life, my being, my reality. They can say anything they want outside of my doors. It doesn't matter. It's not true. It's only true if I believe it, if I allow it to be true, if I give it the weight that they want me to give it. It's why there's so many places in our lives that are constantly trying to get you to look at me, give me your attention, give me your energy, give me your power. You could be more pretty if you use this product. You'll smell better if you spray this on yourself, right? All of these things are meant to get you to accept that you're not perfect exactly as you are. Now, does that mean there's not room for growth? No. Tomorrow you're going to be even more perfect than you are right now, but you're still going to be perfect. You're perfectly moving through this experience, and this experience is shaping your understanding of the big picture. And it's through catalysts, and it's through experiences with others, and it's through the failures and the ups and downs and the lefts and the rights and the ins and outs. It's through those things that we understand ourselves, the Creator knowing itself. It's very powerful, very powerful. Hopefully this makes sense. Session 28, Law of One, recorded in 1981. Forget what month. It's February, March, one of the two. Right here. The Law of One, session 28, recorded February 22nd, 1981. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite creator. I communicate now. Questioner. I may be backtracking a little bit and make a few false starts today because I think we are at possibly the most important part of what we are doing in trying to make it apparent through questioning how everything is one and how it comes from one intelligent infinity. This is difficult for me to do, so please bear with my errors in questioning. The concept that I have right now of the process, using both what you have told me and some of Dewey Larson's material having to do with the physics of the process, I have the concept that intelligent infinity expands outward from all locations everywhere. It expands outward in every direction uniformly, like the surface of a balloon or a bubble expanding outward from every point everywhere. It expands outward at what you call unit velocity, or the velocity of light. This is Larson's idea of the progression of what he calls space-time. Is this concept correct? Ra. I am Ra. This concept is incorrect, as is any concept of the one intelligent infinity. This concept is correct in the context of one particular logos, or love, or focus of this creator which has chosen its, shall we say, natural laws and ways of expressing them mathematically and otherwise. The one undifferentiated intelligent infinity, unpolarized, full and whole, is the macrocosm of the mystery-clad being. We are messengers of the law of one. Unity at this approximation of understanding cannot be specified by any physics, but only be activated or potentiated intelligent infinity due to the catalyst of free will. This may be difficult to accept. However, the understandings we have to share begin and end in mystery. Questioner. Well, we had yesterday arrived at a point where we were considering colors of light. You said that the nature of the vibratory patterns of your universe is dependent upon the configurations placed on the original material, or light by the focus of love using its intelligent energy to create a certain pattern of illusions or densities. Then after this material, you said that there's further information which you'd be happy to share, but we ran out of time. Could you complete the further information on that? Ra. I am Ra. In discussing this information, we then, shall we say, snap back into the particular methods of understanding, or seeing that which is that the one sound vibration complex Dewey offers. This being correct for the second meaning of intelligent infinity, the potential which then through catalyst forms the kinetic. This information is a natural progression of inspection of the kinetic shape of your environment. You may understand each color or ray as being, as we have said, a very specific and accurate portion of intelligent energy's representation of intelligent infinity, each ray having been previously inspected in other regards. This information may be of aid here. We speak now non-specifically to increase the depth of your conceptualization of the nature of what is. The universe in which you live is recapitulated in each part of the intelligent infinity. Thus, you will see the same patterns repeated in physical and metaphysical areas. The rays or portions of light being, as you surmise, those areas of what you may call the physical illusion which rotate, vibrate, or are of a nature that may be, shall we say, counted or categorized in rotation manner in space-time, as described by the one known as Dewey. Some substances having various of the rays in physical manifestation visible to the eye, this being apparent in the nature of your crystallized minerals which you count as precious, the ruby being red, and so forth. Questioner. The light that occurred as a consequence of vibration, which is a consequence of love. I'm going to ask if that statement is right. Is that correct? Ra. I am Ra. This statement is correct. Questioner. Okay. This light then can condense into material as we know it in our density, into all of our chemical elements because of rotations of the vibration at quantized intervals, or units of angular velocity. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is quite correct. Questioner. Thank you. I am wondering, what is the catalyst or the activator of the rotation? What causes the rotation so that the light condenses into our physical or chemical elements? Ra. I am Ra. It is necessary to consider the enabling function of the focus known as love. This energy is of an ordering nature. It orders in a cumulative way from greater to lesser, so that when its universe, as you may call it, is complete, the manner of development of each detail is inherent in the living light, and thus will develop in such and such a way. Your own universe, having been well studied in an empirical fashion by those you call your scientists, and having been understood or visualized, shall we say, with greater accuracy by the understanding or visualizations of the one known as Dewey. Questioner: when does individualization, or the individualized portion of consciousness, come into play? How does this individualization occur, and at what point does individualized consciousness take over in working on the basic light? Ra: I am Ra. You remain carefully in the area of creation itself. In this process, we must further confuse you by stating that the process by which free will acts upon potential intelligent infinity to become focused intelligent energy takes place without the space-time of which you are so aware as it is your continuum experience. The experience or existence of space-time comes into being after the individuation process of logos or love has been completed, and the physical universe, as you would call it, has coalesced or begun to draw inward while moving outward to the extent that which you call your sun bodies have in their turn created timeless chaos coalescing into what you call planets. These vortices of intelligent energy spending a large amount of what you would call first density in a timeless state, the space-time realization being one of the learned teachings of the density of beingness. Thus, we have difficulty answering your question with regard to time and space and their relationship to the, what you would call, original creation, which is not part of the space-time as you can understand it. Questioner: thank you. Does a unit of consciousness, an individualized unit of consciousness, create, say, a unit of the creation? I will give an example. Would one individualized consciousness create one galaxy of stars, the type that has many millions of stars in it? Does this happen? Ra: I am Ra. This can happen. The possibilities are infinite. Thus, a logos may create what you call a star system, or it may be the logos creating billions of star systems. This is the cause of the confusion in the term galaxy, for there are many different logos entities, or creations, and we would call each, using your sound vibration complexes, a galaxy. Questioner: let's take as an example the planet that we are on now, and tell me how much of the creation was created by the same logos that created this planet. Ra: I am Ra. This planetary logos is a strong logos, creating approximately 250 billion of your star systems for its creation. The, shall we say, laws or physical ways of this creation will remain, therefore, constant. Questioner: then what you are saying is that the lenticular star system, which we call a galaxy, that we find ourselves in approximately 250 billion other suns like our own, was created by a single logos? Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: now since there are many individualized portions of consciousness in this lenticular galaxy, did this logos then subdivide into more individualizations of consciousness to create these consciousness, or divide into these consciousness? Ra: I am Ra. You are perceptive. This is also correct, although an apparent paradox. Questioner: could you tell me what you mean by an apparent paradox? Ra: I am Ra. It would seem that if one logos creates the intelligent energy ways for a large system, there would not be the necessity or possibility of the further sub-logos differentiation. However, within limits, this is precisely the case, and it is perceptive that this has been seen. Questioner: thank you. Could you please make the instrument cough? Ra: cough. Questioner: thank you. Do all of the individualized portions of the logos then in our, I'll call the lenticular galaxy that we are in, 250 billion suns or stars, I will call that the major galaxy, just so we will not get mixed up in our terms. Does all the consciousness then, in this individualized form that goes into what we are calling the major galaxy, start out and go through all the densities in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or then to 8th? Or is there, shall I say, some who start higher up the rank and go in a, so that there is always a mixture of intelligent consciousness in the galaxy? Ra: I am Ra. The latter is more nearly correct. In each beginning, there is the beginning from infinite strength. Free will acts as a catalyst. Beings begin to form the universe. Consciousness then begins to have the potential to experience. The potentials of experience are created as a part of intelligent energy and are fixed before experience begins. However, there is always, due to free will acting infinitely upon the creation, a great variation in initial responses to intelligent energy's potential. Thus, almost immediately, the foundations of the, shall we call it, hierarchical nature of beings began to manifest as some portions of consciousness, or awareness learns through experience in a much more efficient manner. Questioner, is there any reason for some portions being much more efficient in learning? Ra, I am Ra. Is there any reason for some to learn more quickly than others? Look, if you wish, to the function of the will, the, shall we say, attraction to the upward spiraling line of light. Questioner, now as the major galaxy is created, and I am assuming all of its densities, there are 8 densities created when this major galaxy is created. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is basically correct. However, it is well to perceive that the 8th density functions also as the beginning density or first density in its latter stages of the next octave of densities. Questioner, are you saying then that there are an infinite number of octaves of densities 1 through 8? Ra, I am Ra. We wish to establish that we are truly humble messengers of the law of one. We can speak to you of our experience and our understandings and learn in limited ways. However, we cannot speak in firm knowledge of all the creations. We know only that they are infinite. We assume an infinite number of octaves. However, it has been impressed upon us by our own teachers that there is a mastery-clad unity of creation in which all consciousness periodically coalesces and again begins. Thus, we can only say we assume an infinite progression, though we understand it to be cyclical in nature and, as we have said, clad in mystery. Questioner, thank you. Would you please make the instrument cough again? Ra, cough. Questioner, thank you. When this major galaxy is formed by the Logos, polarity then exists in a sense that we have electrical polarity, a gravitational effect that probably isn't polarity. I'll have to ask that question. We do have electrical polarity existing at this time. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. I accept this as correct with the stipulation that what you term electrical be understood as not only the one Larson stipulated its meaning, but also in what you would call the metaphysical sense. Questioner, are you saying then that we not only have a polarity of electric charge, but also a polarity in consciousness at that time? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. All is potentially available from the beginning of your physical space-time. It then being the function of consciousness complexes to begin to use the physical materials to gain experience, to then polarize in a metaphysical sense. The potentials for this are not created by the experiencer, but by intelligent energy. This will be the last full question of this session, due to our desire to foster this instrument as it slowly regains physical complex energy. May we ask if you have 1 or 2 questions we may answer shortly before we close? Questioner, I am assuming that the process of creation, then, after the original creation of the major galaxy, is continued by the further individualization of consciousness of the Logos, so that there are many, many portions of the individualized consciousness then creating further items. You might say, for experience, all over the galaxy. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. For within the, shall we say, guidelines or ways of the Logos, the sub-logos may find various means of differentiating experiences without removing or adding to these ways. Questioner, thank you. And since we are out of time, I'll just ask if there is anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or help the contact. Ra, I am Ra. This instrument is well adjusted. You are conscientious. I am Ra. I leave you, my friends, in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth then rejoicing in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai. All right, so again, good stuff going on here. Just to kind of cover the couple of things, and then we got a couple questions, or at least one so far, but we'll probably get one or more before I get to them. We'll see. But light has all within it. So the Logos, the light, it's not just light. It's not just a lot of people like photon. Like it's a wavicle for a reason, right? It's a wave and a particle. It is everything. It's kind of like a holograph of the entire universe. It's intelligent. It's got more to it than just light. It's odd. It's got supposedly, at least when they've done experiments, it seems to have mass while it's moving, but the second it stops moving, it no longer has mass. Light is this very weird thing, and it's key to everything. Light is the intelligent energy coming to us. And it comes from intelligent infinity, brought down to us through the logos, through the densities. And light is really one of the key components that we can experience, that we can utilize, and it is key to everything, frankly. Using the light, using the energy, using the intelligent energy around us is how we manifest. It's how we interact. It's how you're able to communicate at distance. It's how you're able to maybe pick up on somebody, or the case of the example of the individual that hugged somebody and made them feel better. Really, just their energy was kind of pulled in by you, possibly as an empath. So I saw a little bit of something, somebody asked something about an empathic question and how it's exhausting. You've got to be careful when you are empathic, by the way. You're not trying to fix, you're not trying to take. If you find yourself struggling with people and where they're at, and you're an empath, that's where the exhaustion comes from. Just picking up on people, generally speaking, doesn't use any energy. It's when you try to do something with it or try to fight that. That is where the exhaustion will come in. Or even hanging out with people that constantly try to subdue your energy or steal your energy. And that's another thing we frequently do as empaths, is we give our energy away. So again, like the hugging. You'll find yourself like, oh, I'll make them feel better. I can do this. I'm a healer. That's fine, and you can be a healer. But if you're giving energy when you heal, which a lot of times we do, you should transfer the energy. It should flow through you rather than you giving. So in a lot of cases, that's not necessarily proper healing, though that is part of the path of learning to heal. But it is that component that will offer the exhaustion, not the feeling of somebody else. That's fine. It takes nothing to pick up on someone else's mojo, if you will. It's what you do with that knowledge that can become exhausting. Just sort of a side salad there, if you will. Consciousness existed before time. It's what started. So they talk about first density creatures or first density beings. And one of those would be planets and suns. A lot of people don't realize that, like, Earth is alive. This is a living sphere. This planet is alive. It is very much alive, in fact. And if you connect with her and experience that energy, it's profound. So consciousness has existed prior to time. So that's one of the things that's confusing for some people. It's like, well, how long was it like that? Well, time didn't exist. There's no way to measure it. It was once consciousness started to realize, oh, there's other things separate, and start moving towards the light or growing towards the light, which is really where the second density begins, right? Maybe there was a sun now, and now the planets were trying to organize themselves so they could properly align with the light of the sun. That is when the second density aspect starts to happen. And that's kind of when time begins as well. So, again, things are far more complex than what we realize. I think the concept of this as a video game is almost one of the easiest ways for us to envision it, because it kind of is. When they talk about the logos and how their one individual logos created this planet as well as 250 billion star systems in our local area, which is probably our galaxy for the most part, right? The Milky Way galaxy is most likely what they're referring to. That was one logos that created that. And then that logos subdivided itself into multiple parts, which is where a lot of us get the component where God essentially has created all of us so he can experience himself without being himself. And it's that separation. It's that concept of source, understanding source without being source. And it is sort of a paradox, but it's kind of not, too. And you could spend years of your life trying to understand that, and all sorts of different experiences to try to understand it better, too, for that matter. It is an interesting thing. So, yeah, logos, let's see. Logos splits into smaller cells. We talked about that. Ra only knows the one octave. So he was talking about, they were saying, so, there's 1 through 7 densities, and then once you get to the 8th density, you essentially start the octave over. It's much like a piano keyboard when you play just the white keys. Every 8 is an octave, right? So you finish the 1 and you start the next octave with that key. It's the same kind of concept with the experience here, except Ra doesn't know, much like we don't, what's after the 7th density. In fact, I think Ra talks about how their 6th density, I feel like at some point they call themselves 7th, but whatever. They don't know what's past the 8th, because anything that's gone past the 8th hasn't necessarily come back to say anything. It's kind of like, from our standpoint, anybody that's died, we don't necessarily know what's the experience. What happens when you die? It's like, we don't really know, because I mean, with the exception of near-death experiences and stuff like that, no one really dies and then comes back and says, "Hey, here, whoa, dude, check it out. This is what I did." Many of us remember other lives, and many of us remember some of our deaths. But again, law of confusion is going to very quickly allow you or anybody else to disregard that information, which is always okay. That's part of this path. Again, each of us as individuals is here to understand our own understanding, right? It doesn't matter what any one of you think as far as my life is concerned, nor does it matter what I think as far as your life is concerned. We're sharing here, and you're not going to necessarily believe everything I say, and you're not necessarily going to disbelieve things I say, and vice versa. But ultimately, it's the experiences we have as individuals that helps lead us to the next thing. And then the next thing helps us understand it just a little bit more. And then we take the next step. And it's a constant step of progressions of understanding what we don't seem to understand currently already. So you cannot know what you are unless you are it. I don't know if I can give an example that's not inappropriate. I guess I will just use an inappropriate example, and I apologize for this. Hopefully this doesn't bother people. But the concept of like smoking herb, let's call it that, just to keep it less vulgar, if you will. Before I ever did that in my life, I didn't recognize it. I had a bunch of pot-smoking friends, and I had no idea that they were pot-smoking friends. I had no idea. I just didn't know. And then the second I finally joined that world, if you will, and tried it and enjoyed it, frankly, I was then able to understand it. I could recognize it. I could see somebody and be like, "Oh, dude, that guy's high." And it's because I knew it. It was an experience I was familiar with. I never understood it prior. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Always be responsible in anything you do. It is certainly common for a lot of people that are going through spiritual paths, because there are parts of it that actually help in the big picture. There's parts of it that are somewhat unhelpful, but it's just part of the process. There's a number of things that exist on this planet that are natural, that God created, if you will, or Logos created. And so there's no requirement to do anything with them other than partake and experience. And nature is really one of the more powerful producers of help and information. You will have some of the strangest experiences, and really you'll walk through a weird door, you'll experience a weird thing, you'll have strange conversations, and you won't know why, you won't understand why, but it will change you. It's, again, yeah, we could spend probably just hours doing a show on just that, and probably get all sorts of crazy going on. All said, that's kind of where I feel like I'm at with the notes. I'll take a couple more questions here. Think's got a couple questions, I guess. She said, does astrology tie into the law of one? So just kind of from an easy standpoint, everything ties into the law of one. I mean, even in hindsight, that color question, I guess, kind of does, but there is only the law of one. There is only one. So yeah, if astrology is a thing that helps you understand law of one, or helps you understand your consciousness and your experience of this reality and what that actually means, then yeah, it's definitely part of law of one. Is it right, wrong, and any of that? There's no answer to that, right? Astrology can be just as wrong as it can be right. There is no, this is always a good thing, this is always the perfect choice, this other thing, don't ever do that. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. In fact, some of the darker paths that exist on this planet, I'm not saying you should experience them, but I am saying a lot of people do. They'll walk down a dark path. They'll walk down into some of the darker things in this world, and then realize, this is wow, and they'll understand better, and they'll step back and go away from that experience. But the darkness showed them the light. So there's no wrong thing. And this is one of the biggest flaws that most of us live with, that there's a right way to go. There's not. It's not. There may be a best path for you, but your path is not going to be the best path for everybody else, or even anybody else. Paths are very specific to each one of us. It has to do with what you're trying to accomplish, what you're hoping to learn, and then what Logos/intelligent infinity/intelligent energy shows you, and how you take that catalyst and what you do with it. That is the law of one. All of this experience is about understanding ourselves, nothing else. So If astrology is something that you find yourself drawn to or find yourself appreciating, it's definitely for you. If it's something that you're like, that's a bunch of hooey, well, all right, then maybe there's something else. Numerology is a fun one. I use numbers all the time. I have a specific site. I don't recommend it per se, or I don't not recommend it. It's just the one I found a long time ago. I've been using it a long time. I let the universe know, hey, if you give me any funky number patterns, this is where I'm going to go to look it up. So here's your map of what you can tell me with numbers. And then I experience weird things. Numbers will pop up. I'll see different certain number all over the place. 11 is a really common one that a lot of people start with, or 1234 or 234. A lot of times we'll experience stuff along those lines. That is a big part of learning that intelligent energy is showing you what's going on. If any of you guys follow Cliff High, one of the words he's invented, I'd never heard it before prior to him, but it actually is very appropriate in this part of our discussion. And I'm not saying everything Cliff says is correct. I'm not giving my support of Cliff. I watch him. I don't always agree with him. But he has this thing called qualia. And that's really, like in his mind, like the little bite-sized piece of coincidence, if you will, that'll happen to us, that'll show us the universe or source or intelligent energy talking to us. All right, it's a very powerful concept. I think he calls it the ontology and all this stuff. I don't want to get lost in all of his crazy words, but again, that's just my kind of take of what he's saying. Think also asked, question, does astrology tie into the law of one? Oh, it's the same question twice. Here it is. Patriot Daryl. Is there an end to our evolving? Is there a final density we are striving to reach? I'm gonna go ahead and give the same answer that Ra gives. Don't know. I haven't gotten to the end yet, so I don't know. Ra hasn't gotten to the end yet. They don't know. They don't talk about it. Is there an end? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. Patriot Daryl, I picture myself as a ship from Star Trek. I consciously say shields up when it's needed. Works for me. It does. That's a great way to protect yourself. It's certainly one of the things I do when I'm noticing psychic attack, when I'm noticing that people are connecting with me in ways that I don't like. I pick up, people talk about being, picking up on other energies. I do. There's a lot of you guys that are sort of remotely close to me. There's many, many, many times where I can feel you guys talking to me. I can feel you guys thinking of me. I experience it with family. I experience it with friends. I experience it all over the place. There are times where I don't want to hear it. There are times and I don't want to hear the noise. There are times where I just kind of want to be in my own little spot for a second and appreciate my own little reality without all the noise. So yes, shields up, vortex up is what I typically say. The vortex helps just kind of pull strong energies down and in. Also surrounding myself in the Christ white light is a very powerful thing that I frequently will do. So those are three things that I frequently do to try to help keep myself shielded, to borrow Patriot Daryl's take. And then Patriot Daryl had another question, I think. Is there an end to our evolving? Oh, it's the same question twice. Okay, so cool. Yeah, awesome. Again, so yeah, there's a lot to this, guys. What I want everyone to really appreciate is there is no right answer. It's kind of like eating a Tootsie Roll Pop, right? Do you guys remember the commercial with the Tootsie Roll Pop? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? And then the owl's like, lick, lick, 3, right? It's up to you. How many licks are you actually going to take of that Tootsie Roll Pop before you finally just say, screw it, I want to get down to the damn Tootsie Roll, right? That is part of this experience. Learning. How many licks does it take? Does it need to take that many? What if I try it again with half as many licks? Is that going to change anything? What if I break parts of it up and then just sit there and suck on it? Does that count as one just long lick? Who knows? It's your experience. This is what I want all of you to embrace. Your experience. 100% of your experience is you, right? When you wake up, you're conscious of you. When you walk around the house, you're conscious of you, right? You might be married. You might have another half. But you are not with them constantly. They might be with you 80% of the time, which would be insane if you think about it. Most people don't spend that much time with their other, but they might. But it's not 100% of the time. You take showers, you go to the bathroom, you sometimes go on walks, you sometimes go to the store without them. Your experience with you is 100% of the time. And that is what this is all about. Then when you come back to your spouse or significant other, you're co-creating with them. Their approach for their life is perfect. Your approach to your life is perfect. Now, you may want to change it. You may want to alter it, your life anyways. Do. Feel free. Do it. When it comes to somebody else, you're like, oh, I don't like the way they're living. You need to stop right there. Just stop right there. It is never your place to say whether someone else is living appropriately. That's not your place to say. I don't even care if they're your kids. That is not your place to say. You can be an example. You can help ask questions to try to get people to maybe see the understanding. I've had that experience with many, where you're able to ask interesting questions and you're able to kind of lead them down a pathway. And then at some point you see the light shine, you see the epiphany happen, and you're like, haha, perfect. Well done. And that's fantastic. But you cannot ever force somebody to do what you think is right. Because frankly, who are you to decide what's right for another? Even in the case of, there's souls here that have sinned, to borrow a term that's frequently used. There's many, well, we're all sinners technically from that standpoint, but there are many people here that have sinned, made mistakes in life, and learned from it. And if I took away that mistake from them, then I took away that learning. And if I took away the learning, then I just robbed this individual of knowing themselves better. It is never your place to insist somebody walk a path a specific way. That is never, ever our place. Be an example, show them the best you can, and if that's not good enough, oh well, you did the best you could. It is not your life to change. Your life is your life. Be the best you. As not Richard Bach, though, one of my favorite authors, Neil Donald Walsh said, be the best version of the highest vision you have ever held about yourself. Meaning, the best, highest vision I think I could be, Christ-like for some people or whatever. Be the best version of that, always. And you're good. That's it. That's all you're asked to do. That's all you're expected to do. That's all you can do. And then from there, it's, what are you learning from it? What have you taken away from it? Has it changed you? Has it altered you? Have you noticed your energy changing? Do you notice people now notice when you walk into a room? These are some of the indications that you'll get that your energy is changing. Or like the person that we've used as an example a few times now, hugging somebody and having that sort of take the pain away from them. Did you realize that you had healing abilities before that? Or was this the first time that you had that experience and that catalyst actually showed you something? This is what we're here to do and be. We're at the graduation time, which is where we need to kind of understand the most we possibly can. And ultimately, it's love and wisdom is what we need to understand. The green ray, the heart chakra, love and wisdom. If you're in love and wisdom, if you understand love and wisdom, if you've experienced love and wisdom with another, with yourself, with a pet, doesn't matter, then you are well on your way. And you've got nothing to worry about. And I'll say this, you have nothing to worry about ever. Even if you repeat the cycle, it's not a bad thing. It's not a failure. You didn't do anything wrong. There's no punishment. There's no hell, folks. I'm going to give you that right now, too. There's no such thing as hell. The only time we experience hell is here, when we're alive and we separate ourselves from source. We separate ourselves from the energy we are. That's hell. There is no other place of eternal damnation that you will end up in. That's a bunch of hogwash. People pushing that kind of stuff are the ones trying to push negative service to self kind of paths. They want you to serve them. So they tell you if you don't, punishments will come. That's how a lot of the manipulations happened. And service to self has been running this planet for a very long time. Not much longer, but it has been. This is a big part of the transition we're going through. Hopefully we got everything in here. I think we've got one more question. Marine in the Woods, is the one God, is the one, yeah. So there is source. Source. I don't buy into that Yahweh is the one God across the entire, no, there's source. There is one creator. There is one source. There is many logos. There's little mini creators that exist. And there's many of those. There's many small g gods, but there is only one source. That's it. That's the powerful part. And yeah, source is what we're all trying to understand. Marine, you're not telling jokes? Normally you got jokes, man. I love it, which I don't necessarily want at the moment. This is less of a joking place, but I love it. Guys, I hope you guys join me tomorrow with the music show. We've had a good one here. I think you guys have hopefully truly are getting into this and enjoying it as much as I am. 227. We're actually moving up the number of people that are checking us out. For those of you guys that are maybe new to this, you should check out some of the other sessions I've done. They're on my channel. I think I've been reasonably good about putting them into a playlist. I also put them up on BitChute, and I put them up on YouTube after the effect. I'm actually recording this like locally too. Hopefully that helps as well. But I love you guys, and I'm going to continue to do this with you. I am going to say next week, this show will be not happening. We'll be right back the week after that, and I'll talk about it on my regular show, but I'm going to be out in Texas. I'm traveling on Thursday, so I'm not going to be able to do the show. And I didn't want to pre-record it because it kind of ruins the point of it. I like the live. I like the fact that we get questions. I think it helps, hopefully, you guys as well. But we've got a lot to go, a lot to learn, and we're going to continue to do this together. You guys aren't alone, I promise you. I'll be there with you. Like I always say, shoulder to shoulder. I'm right there with you. We'll get through this, I promise. I promise. Where we go one, we go all. It is on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.